So today I'll be talking a little bit about adding some cool functionalities to a Gatsby site that is powered by WordPress. So again, welcome to WPCouchCon, and thanks for having me as a speaker and for attending the session. So you can follow me on Twitter at MohsinLK, and a little bit about me. My name is Mohammed Mohsin, and I'm a senior React developer at Articam. I love to write, so I have written for Smashing Magazine and a few other sites. And I also like photography. So this was taken at a safari in my country, Sri Lanka. This was when I was in India for Arty Party, beginning of this year, while we were taking the train from Goa to Pune, Dudhsagar Falls. And I also like to read. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Jamstack. So if this is what you thought Jamstack is, it unfortunately is not. But Jamstack is actually fun. So Jamstack stands for JavaScript, APIs, and markup. So JavaScript, as you know, the language this stack uses is JavaScript in the front end exclusively. I mean, there is no server-side templating like PHP has or ASP.NET has. And also all the connections to the backend or to APIs or all to third party are done through APIs. It can be a REST API or it can also be GraphQL API. And all the markup are pre-built or pre-rendered, pre-built and put into a static host, something like Netlify or Vercel. Let's talk a little bit about static site generation. This is the idea of where you have the content. Content can be anything from anywhere. It can be from Gatsby, it can be from WordPress, it can be from your Markdown files or your Excel sheet, spreadsheet like Google Sheets. It can be from XML, it can be like pretty much anything from WordPress to a simple flat file. So all this content, it can even be multiple content from multiple places. So you can take all this and have some kind of pre-built template in React or any language and have it pass through a static site generator. And then you will get a static site. So you would ask, like, why would you need a static site when you already a dynamic site like WordPress is good? So there are some advantages of this. Before that, here are a few static site generators. And today we're going to talk about Gatsby. So why would you consider Gatsby? So first of all, Gatsby is blazing fast. So blazing fast here means you would experience how fast it is when you visit a Gatsby site because of many reasons. For example, when you hover over a link in a Gatsby homepage, that link is already pre-fetched for you. So once you click on, after you hover, it's already fetched. So when you click on it, it's already loaded and it just loads just like you are running a normal native mobile app or a native OS application. And it's also super secure. Why is it secure? Because there is no live connection to a database. So it is very secure and it can't be hacked, almost can't be hacked. If it can be hacked, all your files will be lost. So that is not a big risk compared to being hacked your database. That is more risky and your files being removed by a hacker. It is also cheap, actually very cheap, because you can host a Gatsby site for free. You don't have to pay any dollars or any rupees. If you choose Netlify or Vercel, your site will be completely free of cost for hosting. There are limitations, like when you scale up, you have to pay for your host. And also has a great developer experience because, first of all, it also has a great user experience, but not just that, but it also has a great developer experience where you can, where the developer is prompted to write good code, for example, accessible code. So when you use an image and you forget to use the alt attribute, it will tell you to use the attribute. Or if you put an emoji, it will tell you to put the role of the emoji and the ARIA label of the emoji, and so on. It also uses good routing, a reach router so that your pages can be more accessible than if you use some other route. And the list goes on. So these are a few ways Gatsby is good for developer experience. For example, We can also talk about how they have built the experience. Like getting started with Gatsby is very easy. Even that is counting as developer experience because they made it easy to get started. Uh, so that it's more accessible to beginners. So anybody who wants to get into development can start learning React and also GraphQL while building a site with Gatsby. And the best part, one of the awesome parts of Gatsby is you get 100% lighthouse as you start the site. So it's not like performance or SEO or progressive web app is not an afterthought. It is how you get started. So all you have to do is maintain that 100% for your site, not make it go low. So let's talk about what Gatsby is. It's a blazing fast web framework. It also does static site generation. It connects to multiple APIs, like we discussed in a few slides ago. It can be any types of APIs, WordPress or Contentful or GraphQL, Airtable, and so on. The list goes on. Shopify, WooCommerce, and it goes on and on and on. So you build Jamstack sites, like we discussed, JavaScript APIs and markup. It's a new stack that is very trendy. And now Gatsby site is actually a React application. So you are not losing any of your React powers, like all the hooks that you have, and so on and on and on. So, like as a side note, Gatsby just raised Series B funding, so 28 million. So it's, I think, a good time. If you have had any doubts of using Gatsby before, I think now is a good time to start it because 4 days ago they received a huge funding to expand their great framework. So Gatsby themselves say they rest on the shoulders of giants. The giants here are React and GraphQL and many more like Webpack and Rebel and so on and on and on. So they have been learning from all these technologies and they have combined the best of those technologies to give you a very easy framework to get started with. And let's talk a little bit about React. If I was talking giving a talk about 1 or 2 years back, I would have given a big list of what React is, what you can do with it, it's a UI library, and so on and on and on. But React is already very famous, and especially within the WordPress community. So I'll give a different definition of React. So this is what React is. So React is Lego for adults or Legos for adults. So this was said by the founder of Vercel. So with React, you can either build a very simple tiny plane like my nephew has done here, or you can build a sophisticated drone with motors and propellers and so on. So what my example here I'm trying to tell you is, oh gosh, I got again. The example I want to give here is you can build very simple applications, and also you can build very complex web applications using React or even Gatsby. Because even very small, tiny personal blogs are using Gatsby and by extension React, and even huge multinational companies and huge startups are also using Gatsby and React for their sites. For example, Spotify Design has recently launched a very beautiful site with Gatsby. So my example that I'm trying to tell you is you can get started small and you can scale your knowledge and your experience as you move on and on. Let's talk a little bit about GraphQL because Gatsby uses GraphQL extensively for their data layer. So with GraphQL, you ask for what you need and you get exactly what you ask for. It is like an alternative to the REST API that we all have probably used already. So the difference between REST API is that GraphQL has only one endpoint and you query any data from one single endpoint. And any data and any shape that you want. So again, it's by Facebook, just like React is, but it's both open source software. So we can use. So let's talk a little bit about WPCouchCon or WordPress GraphQL plugin. It is something that exposes your WordPress data as a GraphQL schema, and it is an open source project by Jason Ball. It's a WordPress plugin, and you have add-ons for all kinds of other plugins like advanced custom fields, WooCommerce, and so on. So, I just want to tell you why. Gatsby is a static site generator and also a web application framework, and WordPress is a CMS that we all love and been using for ages probably. So if you combine them, you get a very good combination for some might call the best of both worlds, because like we have just discussed the benefits of Gatsby, but you also know already the benefits of WordPress. Like it is a very powerful CMS. It has Gutenberg, which is a pleasure to write with, and it has very advanced customizations so that you can uh, create the shape of your data you want, any post types you want, and so on and on. So when you combine those two and add WP GraphQL to the mix, and you have something that you will love. So let's talk a little bit about how you can use WP GraphQL with Gatsby. So first of all, you have to have the WP GraphQL plugin on your WordPress site, and then you install this Gatsby source GraphQL experimental. Gatsby source WordPress experimental. Um, okay, it's WordPress. So Gatsby source WordPress experimental on your Gatsby site, and then you fetch GraphQL data and stitch them into a schema which you stitch it to a schema in your Gatsby site, and then yeah, you need WP GraphQL, and also it's more scalable than using the REST API or the WordPress REST API for this purpose. And best part is that it goes really well with Gatsby, because Gatsby is heavily invested in WP GraphQL because they have hired Jason Ball. He's a software engineer there, and he's actively developing WP GraphQL to work well with Gatsby. So, like some of us in our Arctic camp, myself and Imran and the team, we have discovered that this WP GraphQL is better than the REST API for Gatsby. So there may be other reasons for using other technologies. So it's great. So wait a minute. Why? What about comments that you had in your site? What about contact form? What about the dynamic content that you would have had that you would need to be loaded dynamically? What about the product reviews that you would have had? What about search? What about authentication, paywalls, and feedback for your products, and post and Ajax and so on? So, like, are we removing WP functionality? Because so when it's a static site, are we actually getting rid of all these? So today I'm going to talk about that and how you can add these functionalities to your Gatsby site. So, like, this is the main slide probably of your what I'm trying to tell you, like the crucial thing, how we are going to add back all these. Today we are going to add search and comments, but you can extend that code to build whatever you want. So we are using that with the help of Apollo. So with Apollo, you fetch from WP GraphQL during runtime. So, like, as I explained earlier, if you just use WP GraphQL without Apollo, you would do everything statically. So it will all be done before the site is actually deployed. So now with Apollo, during the site runtime, while a user is visiting the site, it will fetch data, and it is used for anything that is dynamic, that we discussed in the previous slide, like comments and search and so on. So when you use Apollo, you first of all use the specific modules or the node modules, and then you write some React code for those thing you want to do, and you make GraphQL queries or mutations and so on, and you use React hooks like we discussed, like Adirup yesterday's day conference. So how do you like do a Gatsby project? It's very simple. First of all, you install Gatsby CLI globally. Yeah, for this you need to have node in npm, or you can use yarn as well. You do a Gatsby new and the name of the project that you want. It can be any name that you like, and you do a change directly into the project, and you Gatsby develop. So that will start a development server in your computer. So let's talk about today's demo. So I have the demo here and the code base. Okay, so this is the demo. So if you go to the blog page, it has two posts: hello world and welcome to WPCouchCon. So I'm gonna use the search feature. So I'm gonna say couch. Okay, so it gives you the search result. So if you like go to the inspect element and go to network tab, it is actually making a live call to the WordPress site. and once you click on it, is taking you to the page. So the page here is actually this site on itsway.com, and the posts are hello world and welcome to WPCouchCon. So now that's how search works. So from here I can also search for hello world and go to the hello world page. So let's go back to CouchCon, WPCouchCon, and let's leave a comment. So this is awesome. Name is okay. Thanks for your comment. It will appear here once it's approved by the site owner. So it actually works with the same basic principles of WordPress. So once you go to your WordPress site and go to comments, hopefully, so the comment is here. So I do an approve, and if I come here and do a refresh, so there is a comment that I left here. So I think this is pretty neat because we're actually getting the WordPress functionality that we might have missed if we did not use the follow. So we saw what search is and what follow is, and we'll see how the code looks like. I can either like show it here in the code or use GitHub repo. So for now, I'll just leave the GitHub repo here. So so you can take a look yourself, and also I can show you here. So this is a basic WordPress site, and you have Gatsby site. So this is how a Gatsby site looks like. So the most important here is that you see the Gatsby browser. So Gatsby browser will have this wrap code element. You can either put the whole code here or put it inside source Apollo wrap code element. So it's here. So both Gatsby browser and Gatsby SSR will have this. So let's go to wrap code element. It looks like this. You import React, and then you Apollo client, you import these three libraries. You import it from the Apollo client, and then you get the Apollo provider, which is like something that you wrap your code with, and you get the isomorphic fetch for server-side fetching. And you create a link to your WordPress site /GraphQL. So that is essentially this site. So it is creating a link to this WordPress site. So as you can see, welcome to the WPCouchCon. You can see the two comments. So this is actually the WordPress side of this. So you have the Apollo client initialization, and then you do the wrapping here. So this is how you like wrap it. So if I go here, so you put this code there, and then okay. So the code that we write actually here, components and search. Okay. So here you have the search component that I showed earlier, how search works. So I import the libraries, and then this is the query that it makes. So this is how a GraphQL query looks like. So I can just show you how it looks like. So we'll do a few simple queries to our site. So you start like this, or you can put the query name and the name of the query there, and you can put all WP post. Okay, yeah. So here it comes as post, but when you query from Gatsby, it comes like WP. So title, so it gives a title. So I can do a database ID, and I can do I can go on and on like that. Like I can do categories, I can do posts in those categories. You can do a very nested queries like that. So you can see this post has this category, the name of the category. So you can see this post has this category, conference, and inside of conference you can go and see the other posts inside of conference. So like if you would have noticed, it's quite neat because like let's say you have a post, and in the same query you want to get the posts of the same category. So with one query you are getting all this data. Just imagine if you were to do this with REST API, you would need a lot of code. I'm not saying REST API is bad, but like this is a very easier way if you have experienced the limitations there. So that is, yeah. So this is the query that we make. So you search for the search term. The search term is what we gave as couch earlier. And so this is the search component, and this input element. Search key are also using the React hook use state. So we are using use if it here to get it in focus. For example, if I click here, it is already in focus. So I just have to type it. So that is the reason I did that. And then show and hide the search form. So if I do this, that's there. And the results. So if I search for couch, I get the results here. And if I click, both the results are going there. Okay, that is a close button event. And this is actually the React code that is all the, and you can see the close button here. So that is the code for the search. And let's look at the code for comments. So comment has in the index. So the index is actually this, that will house the comments and also the comment form. So as you can see, the comment list, there is a comment list. Sorry, this is the comment list, and then we have HR, and then we have comment input. So this is the HR, then the comment input is this. Okay, let's go to comment list first. So here what we are doing is this is the long query for getting all the comments of the post. So as you can see, we are passing the ID of the post to get the post ID to get the post ID is passed to get the comments of the post, and these are the fields of the comment. And if the comments have replies, this will come. So this is where we are getting the comments using the use query hook of below. And this is the queried results. So if there is any results, I am showing it here. Map through array of comment nodes and show a single comment and show comments children replies. Replies clear there. So that is comments field. And comment input is this. So use mutation of the React hooks and the tag, and we're using the tag to actually send all the mutation params, and then these are passed here, and then you declare some variables and do some initial states with React, and you're using mutation. That is the mutation here, as you can see. So when you submit the form here, so this function is called, and you set all the variables and you pass it on. So here we are using something called UUID for the client mutation ID. That I think will be deprecated soon, but for the moment we have to use. So UUID is some unique ID generator. The others are like the name, email, and website, and on what database or on what post you're commenting on, and the content of the comments. And these are being reset, and that's where we are showing the thank you. So you would have seen like thank you. Okay, actually when you set it, what happens is, so when you would have already seen this when I entered the comment and it said this message. So I also talked about the ARIA label. That is, it will actually Gatsby will force you to do these things when you put in an emoji. So that is a good thing. Yeah, so this is the form, and I don't want to go into every line. So since we have only 30 minutes, so I have already shared the repository with you, and you can take a look yourself. So this is a repo. So I showed you all the important parts that I needed to get this working. So you can build on from there. So you can use the same ideas to build any of your choice from here or something else. For example, let's say you want to do a paywall for a Gatsby site that is pulling in content from WordPress. So this is how you would do something like that with authentication and authorization. And let's say you wanted to have a list of products that needed the stock update as the user was browsing. So you would use something like that with WooCommerce and WooGraph. And the list goes on. And if you want to have a contact form, you can use something that I showed, have a similar form like comments, and use it for contact messages. And the list goes on. So let's continue the presentation. So last WordCamp US, I spoke about Gatsby and WordPress, and I told these three things. So content was not available immediately, and I also told that there was no incremental builds for WordPress yet, and also that most plugins do not work. So here, now the content is available immediately because of Gatsby Cloud that they are building. It's very near, and it's also going to be available for WordPress. So the Gatsby Cloud is going to bring both, and they were talking about how it increases the bill by 1,000 times as opposed to earlier, because only your small changes will be made as a incremental bill. And some of the WordPress plugins will work now because you can use the WP GraphQL and extend your own extension code basically. So I talked about this at WordCamp Asia that we were planning to have, and we had it as a live stream. So what we covered today, we spoke about Jamstack and static site generators, and we talked a little about Gatsby and also how you use WordPress with Gatsby. And then we talked about this WordPress GraphQL plugin. We then spoke about Apollo and how you can have dynamic things with Apollo, all the dynamic interactions, the queries, mutations, and so on. So let us spread the goodness of ourselves and the technologies we use. And you can visit decoupled.blog. So here I just created to use decoupled WordPress with other technologies like Entity, Gatsby, Static, or Next. So you can see here some articles, some videos, and code. And if you are interested and want to share something cool that you shared, you can go to the source code and open a PR. Yeah. So coming back. So, but why? Like you would have asked, but why should I care, or why should I use this, or why should I use the stack that I'm talking about? So, there are some advantages of using Gatsby. You can pull in data from any source you want, for example, and I think the main advantage is that it's very convenient. So, convenient to get the best experience. So, it's like you're not spending a lot of effort, but you're getting a very good experience, like almost like close to perfect experience, because you're getting the perfect lighthouse score and good accessibility, good SEO, good performance, and very cheap, and so on, not, but with less effort. So that is where I think the web development world is heading. So I think it's a good idea to try out Gatsby. So because if you try it out, you will know how easy it is. That's why I suggest you give a little thought about what Gatsby is and why it matters and why it's going to matter for the future of web development and website building, essentially. And also, if you're already with WordPress, like all of you are, all of us are, we love WordPress, so Gatsby is also invested in WordPress quite heavily. So it will be a good time to explore Gatsby. So thank you for listening to me today, and you can find me on Twitter, and you can email me if you have any questions. And yeah, Articamp is hiring. We love Gatsby. Of course, we are WordPress agency. We love WordPress a lot, actually. So if you would like to work with us, so join rt.camp/join is your URL. Again, thank you very much for having me, and see you. Thank you.
Hey everyone. Thanks, Mohammed, for talking about Gatsby. And if anyone has any questions about Gatsby, they can ask in the chat section, and Mohammed will answer it for you. Meanwhile, there are a few questions in the question section. One of them is, what kind of sites would be suitable for Gatsby by location?
Yeah, sure. Ideally, content sites, actually any site actually. So for website building, Gatsby is ideal because I'll show you some very cool sites. Like I just saw this today. This is one of the. Can you see? I'm going to leave the. I'm going to leave. Can you see my screen, Rohit?
Not now.
Okay, I'm no problem, no problem. So this is something that I shared. So you can see like any site that can be actually be built with Gatsby. But if you prefer something with React that is more dynamic, or that you need something server side rendering, that you want the content to be rendered by the server, so you can also look at Next.js. But for most of your application, you can use Gatsby. That does not mean it's a one size fit all solution. Just like we believe, even WordPress is not a solution for every problem that you have. WordPress is good for a lot of content problems. Similarly, Gatsby is good for content sites, e-commerce site. So it's something like WordPress. I think you can use it for multiple purposes. Depending, I think there is no one unique answer. This site is good for Gatsby, and that is not good. You would have to study a little more to explore that. Like I have already built an e-commerce site and my personal site, so that a blog and an e-commerce site has been built, and that also uses the e-commerce site also uses events, so you can use Gatsby for those kind of things as well. That
All
is
right.
okay.
There's another question by Jeman. It is, are you looking to have an apprentice or would you like to mentor me?
Sure. Let's talk on DM.
And there's another question which is already answered, but we'd like to have your views also.
Yeah.
It is will Gatsby support AMP accelerated mobile pages? And if yes, are there any examples that we can see by Sandeep?
Okay. I do not know whether we have examples, but Gatsby has a plugin for accelerated mobile pages that will give you easy AMP with relative ease. So I have shared the. Oh, it's already been shared. Sorry, Anuj has shared. Thanks, Anuj. It gives you AMP out of the box, but it's for sure I can say it's a PWA out of the box. Uh, like it's already a PWA by the time you build a Gatsby site. But AMP you have to add it as a plugin, and it will give you AMP support. But I do not know if I do not know of any AMP supported Gatsby site off the top of my head. Yeah, we can also try looking at the. Uh, I think the Gatsby showcase sometimes it will be there if you take a look.
So, okay then.
Uh, is that all the questions
That's
are?
for now it is. And if you have any more questions, you can tag WPCouchCon and we'll help you with that. So thank you, Mohammed,
Yeah.
for all your talk. It was great. So we'll now move on to next session. See you then.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Jayman. Thanks, Rohit. Thanks, everybody, for having me today and all the attendees. You were a lovely audience.